Good morning once again. We are now in lesson 3 of our course description, Contemporary World. Lesson 3 tackles on the essential elements of economics. So we have the two essential elements, we have the goods and services. What are goods and services? Goods are those items that gives utility and satisfaction. So goods are items that gives utility and satisfaction. The goods and services are classified into two. Later on, we will discuss. Services naman are those that are rendered by individual or group. So when we speak of services, this does not refer to the product, but to the person who renders that service. So the goods and services are being linked and classified into two. They are classified into free goods and economic goods. What are free goods? Free goods are items that are useful and abundant. So you can have them even in fact for free. So these free goods are classified into two. We have the tangible and intangible goods. What do you mean by tangible? Yung nahawakan, nakakaptan, nakikita directly. So for example, this one, microphones. This is a But this is not free goods. The wrong example. Yung nakakapta no, for example, the sea, the ocean. These are example of tangible free goods. They are very, very abundant and they are useful. How about the mountains? Of course, those are free goods. So we have the water. These are tangible free goods. How about intangible? What do you mean by intangible? Yung nahawakan pa rin ba yan, nakakaptan, or nafe-feel mo lang? So, intangible means yung hindi mo direktang nahawakan. But it is there. Very useful and abundant. Example is the air. The air that we breathe is an example of intangible free good. Okay? Now we go to economic goods. The economic goods are useful but scarce, meaning they are useful but they are limited, the opposite of free goods. So, economic goods are useful but scarce. These economic goods are classified again into two, tangible and intangible. Okay. Tangible economic goods, useful but scarce. Example is wealth, kayamanan, money. So very, very useful but scarce. Have you seen a faucet where it only flows money? No, of course, it is very, very limited. Another is the intangible. O, dito na belong yung tinatawag nating services. Even the services of uh, rendered by the priests are intangible because it is not for free. For example, nagpapabinyag ka or may namamatay. This is an intangible economic good. It is useful but scarce. So how can you avail them? You need to have wealth. You need to have income in order to afford these things. Okay? Even love is an example of intangible economic goods. Your services of your partner or boyfriend or girlfriend, you cannot have it for free. You have to load him or ano pa. Bigyan mo muna ng chocolate, kasali siya sa allowance mo. So it's an example of intangible economic good. Okay? Now, this intangible economic goods, the example is only one, services rendered by individual or groups of individual. The economic goods are classified into two. These tangible economic goods are classified into two. The tangible, we have the producer and consumer based on its uses. Is it either consumer goods or producer goods? How are you going to use it? Oh, what are producer goods? Producer goods are raw materials used in the production of other goods. Example of producer goods, we have the abaca, wheat, flour, What else? Egg. These are not finished product. You still have to buy it and then you make it as a consumer goods. You make it as a finished product. Okay, for example, clothing. What is a producer goods used for clothing? We have abaca, um, pinya cloth, pinya, cotton. So these are producer goods. Or for leather bags, you use the skin of the snake or crocodile. So those are producer goods. Now we go to consumer goods. What are consumer goods? Consumer goods are finished product that gives direct utility and satisfaction. So it is the exact opposite of producer goods. Why? These are already finished product. When you buy it, you can directly use it. Example, cell phones, laptops, notebooks, pencils. These are consumer goods. Okay? Have you seen the difference? Pag producer goods, it is a raw material used in the production of other goods. Pag consumer na yan, finished product na nadirekta mo na makain or magagamit. Depende sa pagbili mo. Okay? So, these consumer goods, lastly, are classified according to its function. Is it basic or is it luxury goods? So, what are basic goods? Goods that are used to satisfy the gut-level needs of men, such as food, shelter, and clothing. Very basic. Pero wag mo naman ilagay yung brand. For example, your basic good is a Levi's pants. It's not basic because it's very expensive. So it depends on the user itself also. Or your basic is food. So everyday nagcha-chowking ka or ano pa dyan. Hindi naman kailangan chowking everyday. Kaya nga estudyante ka pa, kailangan noodles lang muna yan. Noodles, okay, sardines, yun lang muna, mga noodles muna. Kasi you still don't have the money to buy them. You were just receiving allowance from your parents. So example of luxury goods are those items which are both merely for its name, for its prestige. Or for example, you buy a Prada or Chanel or Hermes bag, 200,000. Okay? La necklaces, earrings which are very, very expensive. These are luxury goods. Okay? So for a detailed discussion, you read the following. Reading, Megan. You watch the following movie.
When you grow up, there are a lot of different jobs you can do. People can pay you to fly planes, build buildings, bake cakes, or be a doctor. You can also sell things to people, such as cars, clothes, books, or even pets. The first group of things are services. The second group of things are goods. So, what is the difference between goods and services? Goods are things that you can touch, feel, and take home with you. If you buy a good, you then own it. Services are things other people do for you, which you pay them for. If you get a haircut, that is a service because you are paying the hairdresser to cut your hair. If you pay a bus driver to take you somewhere, that's also a service. You can't touch a bus ride or take it home with you. A bus ride is a service, not a good. Let's look at some more examples. Every day in Shopville, people are buying goods and services. Let's look at some of the things they buy. Your teacher will pause the video and you can guess which ones are goods and which ones are services. Remember, goods are the things that you can touch, feel, and take home with you. Services are things that you pay people to do for you. Okay, here we go. This is Jenkins. Today, he went to the shops and bought some clothes, some books, and got his bike fixed. Which of these are goods and which of these are services? Why don't you pause now and figure out which one is which? Great job! Clothes and books are goods because they are things that you can take home with you. Getting your bike fixed is a service because Jenkins paid the repairman to do something for him. Now let's see what Sally is doing in Shopville today. Today, Sally went to the post office and paid for a letter to be delivered. She also had lunch at a restaurant and bought a new TV. Which of these things are goods and which are services? Why don't you see if you can work out which of those things are goods and services? Well done! Sally paid for 2 services today. Mailing the letter was one service and the other service was lunch. She paid the people at the post office to mail her letter, and she paid the people at the restaurant to cook her lunch. She also bought a TV, and this is a good because she could take it home with her. So remember, goods are things that you can touch, feel, and take home with you at the end of the day. Services are things you pay other people to do for you.
What are consumer goods? Consumer goods are products that people buy and don't use to make other things that are then sold. We can also call them final goods because when somebody buys them, they have reached their final destination. When consumer goods are sold, they have reached the end of the road. They are consumed. Consumer goods are what consumers buy, hence the name. So, what is a consumer? Consumers are people who buy goods and services for themselves. They consume what they have bought. For example, if somebody buys a can of Coke and then drinks it, they are a consumer, and that can of Coke was a consumer good. What's the difference between consumer goods and capital goods? Capital goods are things that businesses buy to make other things. Machinery, trucks, and business computers, for example, are capital goods. We do not buy a consumer good to make other things that we aim to sell. When we buy a consumer good, we buy it for ourselves. Consumer goods satisfy personal needs, and not the needs required for the production of other products or the provision of services. We live in a consumer society. Our economy relies on consumers purchasing lots of consumer goods. Most economies in the world are driven by consumer spending, and if we all stopped buying consumer goods at our current rate, there would be a massive unemployment problem.
For your assignment for today's lesson, lesson 3 na tayo, you classify, you make your own diagram, and make sure to give 5 examples of producer goods, consumer goods, basic goods, and luxury goods. So you make a diagram out of it, the 4 only, 5 examples for producer, 5 for consumer, 5 for basic, and 5 for luxury. And you place pictures in each example. So how many pictures would you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Koppelmans, paste 1 consumer na lang, 1 basic, and then 1 luxury picture. But for the examples, 5 or 10, 10. 10 for each goods, okay? Samples about goods, but for the pictures, isa lang ilagay mo. Isang consumer, isang producer, then isang basic na picture, tsaka isang luxury goods na picture.